Thank you, big voice person. 923. Talk Radio 790 KABC. Dr. Kipper and I do the nationally syndicated medical show tomorrow, 10 to noon. Make sure you're listening to that. Right now, Anthony Corsini is joining us. He is a bail enforcement officer, known also as a bounty hunter, and owner of California Bounty. He knows the essentials of tracking down and apprehending fugitives like a Christopher Dorner. Happy to have you on, Anthony. How are you? Are you there? Let's see if I can get Anthony on here. Anthony, you there?
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Anthony. I'm sorry, that phone line has been a problem for 2 nights now. So you're a bounty hunter. This guy, I wondered why he went down to San Diego, and then ended up making a beeline for a bad weather area, which is Big Bear. Right. And why he sets his car on fire. It's not like he can set it on fire. It's going to be completely obliterated, and they're not going to know it was his, so there's no trace it was his. This would lead them to Big Bear. What's going on here based on your career?
A lot of times what we run into guys that they're running and they don't want to get caught, or they have an agenda which is what I think with Christopher here. I think that he's got an agenda and he's waiting out time to do what he needs to do or what he feels he's going to do. And I think it's the same thing when we run into guys who are running from us. They're going to set off decoys. The guy's trained tactically. He knows what the law enforcement agency is going to, how they're going to handle the situation with him. So I think he's going to do things like that. Setting his car on fire, there's absolutely no reason for him to do that. It doesn't really accomplish anything. But what it does do is it's going to leave officers like they are now. They're up there in the snow looking all over for this guy. Now, if it was my case, I'm going to look at this like, well, let's look at this guy. He's 6 foot tall, 270 pounds. He's not going to be treading away in the snow. It's rough terrain up there. I mean, I've seen some interviews from some of the other guys who have been up there. It's really not kind of the area where he can just be kind of waltzing around. And I think it's the same with San Diego. I think he's purposely placing himself in places where law enforcement are going to focus their attention to. And he knows. He's put in his manifesto. I briefly kind of went over real quick today, and he's put in there. He's familiar with the LAPD's TPS, which is their techniques, tactics, and procedures. So he knows what they're going to do. So by him getting people where he wants them, they're there because he wants them there.
All right, do me a favor, because I didn't have the phone line, and I got to end the segment. Stay on the line. We come back. I want to talk about where you think he is, where you think he's going. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 6 foot 270 does not seem to be Mr. Healthy to me. I don't know that he's tracking up hills and mountains and stuff. 270 may be a cholesterol heart attack waiting to happen. That doesn't mean he's in great shape. Also, I know in your business, people do odd things, strange things. I'd love to hear about some of your apprehensions too. But let's focus more on him a little bit. I have some more information about him when we return to. We are talking to Anthony Corsini, bail enforcement officer, owner of California Bounty, about where he would look for Christopher Dorner. We'll do that next. Talk Radio 790 KBC. (9:33). Peter Tilden Live, 9 to midnight. Talk Radio 790 KBC tomorrow, 10 to noon. The medical show. But I just got to mention, since we're playing the Police, one of my favorite bands ever. It's great being in L.A. I went to a restaurant yesterday for lunch, and I don't get out that much. But I met some friends for lunch, Dr. Kipper, whatever, and Andy Summers, the guitarist for Police, who you're just hearing, is sitting 2 tables over. And do you get up and go, oh, my God, I'm the biggest... But he's sitting having a business meeting, and you don't want to bother him. But I've been in an audience screaming, jumping, the King of Pain, the whole bit, and there he is, having lunch 3 feet from me, and I didn't say anything because I didn't know what to say. But if that's the cool... That I had 3 hours to get to the radio station today in traffic, which is a downside. But the upside is you get to see Andy Summers eating pasta bolognese, whatever. Anthony Corsini is joining us. He is a bounty hunter, a bail enforcement officer, owner of California Bounty. Anthony, we're talking about this guy, Christopher Dorner, and I got to ask you this question first of all. I'm watching the tapes of the police going through Big Bear in the snow, which is it's 3 feet deep. It's coming down. You can't see. They had to suspend all kinds of air patrols because it was unsafe. Right. This guy, like you said, is 270 pounds. Do you think, A, that he's left the area, and B, more importantly than that we're not hearing stuff from the police because they don't want to say anything because he'll hear it?
I definitely think that they're being cautious with what they release to the public. The public, they do tend to overreact, but the thing is they want to keep what they've got going on under wraps. I mean, he's definitely left the area. There's no way. This guy's he's trained by the military. To what extent, who knows? But he knows enough. He's not going to be in that area. He's got these guys treading through the woods. They're going door to door. And in my opinion, they're wasting time. I mean, like we were saying earlier, we're talking 6 foot, 270. He's a big boy. He's not out there. How his truck got out there, whether he dropped it off or whether he had somebody else drop it off, who knows?
Hey, by the way, we didn't even mention that. Everybody goes, he was there. The assumption is he was there because the truck was there. You're right. He could have been in San Diego and said to somebody, "Take my truck, take it to Big Bear, blow it up, and then walk around in Big Bear, and no one's going to be looking for you because you're not me." And while they're up in Big Bear, I'm going to Baja.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you get on this guy's. You get on Facebook. One of the things that law enforcement released to the public was that they found what they believed was his Facebook. And I kind of took a gander myself because we used a similar tactic. We'll look at people's Facebook, their social media sites, and kind of try to get an idea of what their lifestyle's like and, see what they're doing. But I got on there today and it's already off. So, they're shielding us from certain things, and that's their own little way of kind of keeping things in the group. But, you get on there now, he's got followers. There's people that agree with what he's doing, and some of the
they agree what he's doing. I read the people who agree what he's doing. Yeah, you shoot innocent people to exonerate your name. I dare anybody to try and explain that to me and make sense.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really, and like I said, I briefly went through some of the stuff on the manifesto he posted online, and I've said it earlier today. I mean, there isn't a delusional part in his mind. He's not all there. Something snapped on him, and he's had 3 years to plan this. He's not going to screw it up.
That's true. I didn't even think of that. He has got 3 years. So what would you now? Are there bounty hunters? I didn't even ask this. You got all the police out there. Are there bounty hunters out there, or is there no bounty on somebody like this right now?
No, there wouldn't be a bounty on something like that. In California, when bounty hunters are involved, it's not like the old Western days where we pull out the old 6-shooter and we go to town looking for whoever the court's looking for and bring it back dead or alive. Well, in modern society today, where it's still, technically dead or alive, we're only able to actually go out and apprehend these people if they're out on a bail company's bond and that we're hired by that bail bonds company.
So it isn't like the Wild West. So what would you be doing? Where would you be? Just out of curiosity, from what you know, what you see, and from years of doing this, where would you be?
The first place I'd be doing is, this guy's been busy for the last 3 years. It's apparent. His manifesto isn't something he type overnight. That's years of frustration and anger built up that he's releasing out on paper. So 3 years of doing something, nobody knows what he's been doing. What I'd be doing is I'd be trying to find out, who he's been talking to, who his friends are, what his hobbies are, what kind of things did he do for the last 3 years, and try to put things together and find out what kind of guy this is, And of course, obviously, the direct the direct avenues we'd be taking is we'd be talking to everybody in his family, down to third or fourth cousins, and I'm sure law enforcement's taking that route as well. But, I think the biggest thing in a situation like this is you really have to look at what he's been doing the last 3 years.
And try and find a pattern.
Exactly. Try to find a pattern. No matter how calculated somebody is, and being that he's got military experience, he's going to know better than to make patterns. But I mean, I have yet to see any proof of anybody ever being able to do something. You look at all the old criminals and all the the famous cases that have happened. There always some kind of pattern. You have to find it. It may be the smallest thing, and the smallest thing might turn into be the biggest break in the case.
Hey, Anthony. So he's smart enough not to use credit cards, but he's got to buy this guy. How much can you carry? How much can you how many guns can you carry? How much supplies can you carry? He's got to stop at stores. He's got to get gasoline. He's got to go in and buy a pack of gum. He's got to use a restroom. He's got to do something, unless he's a survivalist, which I don't know that he is, and it doesn't portray him as such. What are the chances that already with this kind of manhunt and his face up on so many billboards, right in front of the station here is an electronic billboard, and I saw his face 20 times. As soon as you pass it, it's flashed up there and his height and the whole bit. What are the chances that nobody saw him already, that not a single person will be seeing him? He's got to go somewhere.
Here's the thing. You look at and you got to revert back to his training. He's got military training. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know the extent of it. If he was more than what a reserve Navy, but he has training. You look at the war in Afghanistan with the Taliban. What are they doing? They're not wearing uniforms. They're not wearing anything that's flashy. They're blending in with citizens. And he's going to use that same kind of tactic. It's guerrilla warfare is what it is. And when he's ready to poke his head up, he's going to do it. And he's going to do it on his own terms. I think he's laying down, letting things cool while he plans his next move. I don't think he's done. I honestly don't. I think
either does the police department, because everybody's still on high alert, and even the police are nowhere near there. They've
Right.
suspended motor. I don't know if everybody knows this. You're not seeing motorcycle cops. You're seeing cops riding in twos. They've changed the way they're doing business right now because they're taking this very seriously.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, I've got 4 cases down in the LA area. I live up here in Sacramento County, and we have team members down there in LA, and we've suspended all operations on our behalf as well because of this whole thing. I was supposed to be leaving for LA on Sunday to spend the week down there before going to Texas. So it's really a big deal with what's going on, and it's something that everybody's got to look at. But yeah, everybody's on high alert down there. That's one of the reasons why we're not even going.
Yeah, you don't want to get in somebody's way and all of a sudden get popped. I got to ask you before we go. What's the strangest thing you ever had to do as a bail bondsman? I've watched Dog the Bounty Hunter for a while until that got kind of boring watching Hawaiian criminals go over fences.
Yeah, I would love to live on an island where a fugitive can only go so far before running into the water.
I was going to say, if you're on Lanai, you can see the other end of the island. It's not that hard.
Well, you got a fugitive. You go down to the park, and chances are they're doing dope and riding a bicycle in the field there. It's good. It's good. I mean. Yeah, gosh, I've had so many. We get cases from guys who completely changed their identity, and we picked up a guy in Washington about a month ago who he was getting ready to get married, and his fiance had no idea of his past until we came knocking on his door.
What was his past?
What's that?
What was his past?
Nothing too big, drugs, things like that, some fraud charges. Nothing big, but. We got the call. We went up there, and we found him at his address. He wasn't hiding. He was posting on Facebook, hey, I'm at the movies. As a matter of fact, the night we got up there, he was at the theater 2 blocks from our hotel room. So we get them all, different things. We get guys who, they'll go out of their way. They'll apply for credit cards. They'll apply for sweepstakes. We use some of the same systems that law enforcement does as far as tracking people. And
you're a winner, and you put it in the mailbox, and he goes to claim the prize, and you put the cuffs on him.
Yeah. So we get all kinds of things. I've been doing it for about 5 years now, and I'm pretty successful in it. But we get all kinds of stuff.
And what's the worst thing? Dogs in the yard, or mothers shooting at you, or hitting you with a broom? What's the worst? When you go, the Indiana Jones thing when he said not snakes. I hate snakes. What's your worst nightmare?
Oh man, I've dealt with snakes. My worst nightmare, to be honest, is it's not even the people; it's the places they live. That's actually the worst. I've been to a place, I don't know if you're familiar with the tribe up in Northern California. It's called the Hoopa Valley Tribe.
Go ahead.
Up in Humboldt County. The worst place you will ever step foot in. I mean, and that's kind of the scariest thing because you don't know what you're stepping into. You go into that door, and we've got all kinds of feces on the floor. The house is just destroyed. Those are the ones I'm scared of, because it gets some of the places these guys bury themselves under. I mean, it really,
So it's like a Rob Zombie movie, like House of a Thousand Corpses. You don't know what's going on.
Basically, yeah.
Wow. Well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming on with us. If you got some insight next week or you hear some stuff, let us know. Well, hopefully, you know what? I'm hoping that we won't have to talk about it next week because I'm hoping they can catch this guy.
I'm hoping that they catch him, yeah. I mean, he's going to pop his head out. Unfortunately, they've got the Marshal Service. I know they've got the FBI out there. They're doing everything they can in their power, but they really have to, I think they're going to have to take a step back, and they're going to have to look at this in an indirect angle, and that's how they're going to catch them. The way we catch people, we don't have the same resources as law enforcement. We have to go into indirect motion. And when we go into indirect motion, when we get to the same destination as law enforcement does, we've got a little bit more information about that.
Well, so and I know, Anthony, to be fair about it, they talk taking computers out of the house. They are, I'm sure, talking to the ex-wife, ex-girlfriends, ex-everybody, to try and figure out his deal. But Anthony, we're going to run owner in of California Bounty. It's calbounty.com. And I thank you for talking about how you track down people. We appreciate it.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me on.
Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
See, I love Dog the Bounty Hunter. He's right. It's not go to the park. The guy's riding a bike and getting high, which is usually how every episode of Dog the Bounty Hunter ended. They find a guy 3 blocks from where he lives because it's Maui. It's not that big. Coming up.